Hi everyone, welcome to the Marvellous Recap, where today we'll be discussing What If Episode 6 and the Hawkeye trailer. And I'm your host, Nathalie, and this is my co-host, Cha.
Hello.
Hi
Hope everyone
everyone.
is staying safe at home. CM Chai, your boy,
So
your
lame.
boy, CM Chai. I gotta change up the flavor, okay? Can't always be your man. So today I'm just gonna be your boy,
I
right?
think more excitingly, it's my change in background, which is temporary, by the way.
It's
I'm
so
actually,
corporate, like you
I,
know, s-
I mean,
books and files.
I am in my dad's home office. I'm actually set up here because of the Life is Strange marathon, which I'm doing until tonight, and the TV is like right there. Unfortunately, I
As,
can't like swivel to show it to you.
as you can see, my really nice white wardrobe and switch box and my PS3 box. I don't know why my PS4 box. I think it's
Well,
in
you don't
the
have a PS5 yet, so why are you showing
sadly,
off
sadly.
anyway?
No, I'm just showing off legacy. Okay.
Wow. Anyway, we have a bunch of things to cover today, so I think we should get right into it. Firstly, like I mentioned just now, we are doing What If Episode 6, which is What If Killmonger saved Tony Stark? And then we'll be discussing the Christmassy Hawkeye trailer, which I'm really excited for. But first, we have to get through Episode 6. So I think the overall thoughts about this is very... like, the episode wasn't anything special. It was about exactly like the title says, what if Killmonger saved Tony Stark in Iron Man 1? So instead of him going into the cave and building Iron Man, he actually got saved immediately. So what would happen to Tony Stark? What would happen to Killmonger at this turn? And surprisingly, this was a very Killmonger-centric episode, which I think, well, whoever Michael B. Jordan fans out there will be very excited for it because they even designed the character to look like him. But anyway, the episode actually begins at the very beginning of Iron Man 1 when he's actually on going to go and show off his weapons and there's that iconic scene where he takes a photo with the soldier and he says, I love peace. Without peace, I'll be out of a job. And then,
Yeah,
poof,
the
explosion.
the entire sequence is Iron Man 1, right?
Yep.
From the dust and the desert to even the car model, right? The only thing different about the entire, reskin of Iron Man 1's beginning was the handphone that Tony Stark uses.
Wait, I didn't notice that. What does he use?
He uses a flip phone.
I know he uses a flip phone, but in the episode,
In the episode, he uses a flip phone. In like in the original Iron Man, he uses like a super gadget thingy.
ah,
You should go back and watch it.
I did watch it recently, so I was like pretty confident that I knew Iron Man like the trilogy, but clearly not. I guess. Also, if you hear like motorcycles, that's because they are motorcycles. I'm sitting like right next to the road. I mean, not next to the road, but you know what I mean. Oh, Cha, I think your face is frozen. But anyway, I think we can move on to the next scene. Oh, give me a moment. There we go. Hold on, I think I should check on Cha. I thought his problem would resolve itself, but it's not. Hold on, let me like text him, guys. Bear with us, technical difficulties. Oh no, not like this. Oh no, my camera is misaligned. Wait. Oh, when you break one thing, everything breaks together with it, right? Anyway, you're gonna get the wonderful pleasure of watching me fix everything in real time. This is exactly like the Life is Strange stream yesterday where the game crashed like 4 times. What a nightmare. Okay. My face, does it look better? And then let me fix Chas. Oh, he's back. Hello?
Sorry, I had internet issues.
I was stalling to save my life here. I was like opening WhatsApp, but WhatsApp was lagging.
Nah, it's all good. It's all good. I'm back. I'm sure
Yay!
Stark knew I was talking bad about him.
Wow. I doubt so. But anyway, we were right about to move into the next scene of the episode, which is where everything changes. Of course, we get the scene where Stark is hiding behind a rock, and he sees the Stark Industry logo on the bomb that is targeting him. But instead of getting blown up or kidnapped, Killmonger picks up the bomb and throws it away like it weighs absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I
And
wonder where he got this strength from. And the other thing is that I think the episode should be named "What If Tony Stark Fought Killmonger Instead of Ironmonger?" Because I felt that was that was the comparison they were trying to draw. Because this episode is half Iron Man 1 and half Black Panther 1.
I feel like the episode title is super weak lah. Like, come on, what if Killmonger saved Tony Stark? Like, it's not as intriguing as what if Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his hands? Like, they hired a different copywriter or something. But yeah, I think it should have been named what if Tony Stark never created Iron Man? Eh? Marvel Studios, hire
Probably
me. Hire me.
eh,
If they hire me,
see,
I can't do this podcast anymore.
if Disney was to hire you, I think you'll be great at any creative role or as a
Aw.
Sum Sum store manager.
I would create an entire like lore system for Sum Sums. Just give me the chance.
That's why you're still doing this podcast. Let's go. Let's go.
Oh no. Anyway, Killmonger saves Tony Stark, and we go back to the Watcher narrating what happens. And of course, we get a glimpse of what happens to Tony Stark in the original movies. So we get we get to see cartoonized Tony Stark building Iron Man in the cave, but of course it doesn't happen. And subsequently, he doesn't even defeat Thanos in this universe. He literally remains the Tony Stark that we know in Iron Man 1, which is this like pompous, really annoying, arrogant kind of character. So he doesn't go through any of this change that he does in the Iron Man trilogy then.
But I hope you don't get it wrong. He is all those characters still. Just that I think he had a change of heart, and that is like literally putting it because he had a change of heart because
Wow.
he had to put in the arc reactor into his heart. But in this universe, he never creates the arc reactor.
Yeah, and we also get that shot, and I think this is the clearest parallel, right? Where he's at the press conference, and I think we all know, like in Iron Man 1, there's that iconic scene where he's sitting down and he's telling all the press to sit down with him, and he's like talking about his experience in the cave, and he's saying that, yeah, maybe we shouldn't make weapons anymore. Officially, Stark Industries is no longer going to be making weapons that will contribute to a war. And we kind of get a hint at the scene too, because he says that, I saw Stark Industry weapon being used against me, but instead of saying, he shouldn't make weapons anymore, he said, yeah, let's make them bigger and better to help our
Bigger,
troops,
better,
which is just a
better.
huge like, sorry, what?
Such a huge political, swerve for weaponry and defenses, which is kind of like a big thing in the US. So I felt that was the social commentary underneath, this episode. It's too sensitive to talk about, probably.
Yeah. But also, it kind of points out that Tony Stark needed to go through something absolutely like groundbreakingly dramatic in order to change. Like, he literally had to be kidnapped and starved and forced to make like a weapon that would a weapon in a cave, only for him to change and realize that he needs to become a hero or a symbol of justice. And in this case, like, I guess being attacked is not enough.
Yeah, and there's no surprise that the voice actors for Pepper Potts and Stark didn't resume the roles. As in Avengers 2 when Stark said, they can't afford me. Not entirely sure why Gwyneth Paltrow wasn't included though.
I just want to tangent a little bit, right? I don't know about Gwyneth, but for Robert Downey Jr., I heard that he actually gets a huge chunk of royalties out of every single MCU movie. Did we talk about this on the podcast? I feel like we have. He actually gets a huge chunk of royalties out of every single MCU movie, whether he's in it or not. And if he's in it, he on top of that he gets his actor's fees, which is insane. But really smart deal actually, when I think about it, because he was the first MCU movie, right? And they wanted to contract him for so long.
No, he
Was
wasn't
he
the first
not?
MCU. No, it was the Hulk.
Ugh, come
You
on.
know,
They
let's
like
not.
retroactively added the Incredible Hulk into the MCU later on, right?
No, they didn't. The Hulk was the start. But a lot of people are just gonna discount it and say Iron Man number one. Like how DC reboots all their movies all the time.
But you know what I mean, right? Like he was, you know, even though the Incredible Hulk may be the first MCU movie, but Tony Stark was the beginning of it all. So
Wow.
I mean, come on. I think it's kind of incredible that he actually managed to negotiate a deal where he would get all that money. And now, like, of course, he doesn't even need to do another MCU movie if he doesn't want to.
This is coming from a bum.
Wow.
He was a bum before this.
I know, but his story is so great. Anyway,
And let's move on. Let's move on to
yeah.
this
in this
excruciatingly slow episode.
in this scene, Tony, in Tony fashion, decides to appoint Killmonger as his head of security instead of Happy, which is just sad for Happy. But in the same scene, he also kind of proves why he quote unquote deserves the role, because he immediately kind of cancels out the entire plot of Iron Man 1, where Obadiah is the villain. He immediately like just exposes Obadiah for putting the kill on Tony. It's
So there's
kind of
no
amazing.
Ironmonger. So there's no Ironmonger. It's Killmonger. That's what the episode should have been titled,
Wow.
right? But
My episode
and
title was so much better.
yeah, no, I mean, of course your title was so much better, but this would have been like more direct. Like people would like, oh, there's Monger in the name. Nice, Ironmonger and Killmonger,
Mm-mm.
and basically the reveal of this was not very exciting, but I'm not entirely sure. This episode fell quite flat for me because the characters weren't as interesting.
I think the most
You know,
interesting part for me is seeing how Killmonger's plan like kind of went through, and I think that is clearest in, let's see, not this image. We get this kind of like Pepper and Rhodey and all these people being suspicious about where Killmonger came from, and at first I didn't think he really fit into the What If universe, but so I guess I'm Team Pepper and Rhodey in this case. So they're investigating his past and see where he's come from.
when I saw Rhodes on screen, I was like looking at it and I was like, Donald Duck is talking to
That's what I thought.
Gwyneth Paltrow, huh? Interesting.
Yeah, guys, if you don't know, Don Cheadle, amazing dude, was the voice of Donald Duck for I think maybe 1 or 2 episodes in the DuckTales reboot
Finale.
animated series.
Yeah, finale season 1, season 2.
He reappeared again. Yeah, later on.
Yeah, it was hilarious because it kind of fits Donald so well. The voice kind of like wow, I'm so used to like Donald being inaudible all the time, right? And suddenly you get this clear, deep voice, right? And it's so hilarious that only Daisy can hear Donald's real voice. without all that interference. I'll take an episode of DuckTales over this episode of What If Any Day.
I know, right? Like, I'm rewatching DuckTales, like, just a tangent again. I'm rewatching DuckTales with my sister, i.e., I'm kind of like forcing my sister to experience the wonder that is DuckTales, and we are totally enjoying it.
Yeah, DuckTales is like the serious ride. If anyone wants to watch like a real animation show, um, besides Gravity Falls, that is
Hmm.
right. DuckTales is it's like a must watch, especially if you're a Disney fan, and especially if you like canon law. Because I don't think there's like a lot of canon law out there. I think only Donald Duck has all these, weird adventures. Don't see Mickey in a weird adventure except for Kingdom Hearts. So yeah, Kingdom Hearts is another. Yeah, Donald Duck is in Kingdom Hearts as well. Just waiting for for them to do a Ducktales special where they
Oh my
all
god, that would be
go
great.
into the Kingdom Hearts world. Yeah, that would be crazy.
You team up with Huey, Dewey, and Louie.
Yeah, and their special attack will be just all the family. Like Scrooge, Webby, and everyone just flying kick everybody at the same
Their
time.
special attack would be family is the greatest adventure.
Yeah, and Dominic Toretto has nothing on family like DuckTales has on family. Like the entire Fast and Furious 7 saga, right? Sorry, Fast and Furious saga, right? Is less impressive than one episode of DuckTales.
It sounds ridiculous. I know it sounds ridiculous. I know a lot of you guys haven't watched DuckTales, but it's genuinely incredible. Like, I am a fan of children's cartoons. Like, I would happily admit that. I watch a lot of children's cartoons. I think, like, the best writing comes from children's cartoons. The most, like, layered writing, at least. And DuckTales,
Yeah,
amazing, amazing.
yeah,
Anyway, we should
yeah. We're
continue.
getting, yeah. We're gonna have to change this. The name of this podcast soon to the DuckTale recap.
The Donald Duck Appreciation Club.
Yeah, D4.
Anyway, yeah, everybody's suspicious of Killmonger. I think this is the best scene. This next scene is the best part of the episode entirely, because Tony completely trusts Killmonger, and Killmonger like very not subtly introduced the idea of his Project Liberator, which is a callback to Black Panther, if you guys remember. Um, I believe in one scene when he confronts T'Challa, he talks about how there are millions of his kind, i.e., African American people around the world who he wants to liberate. So this Project Liberator is a callback to that. But in this
Yeah,
case, it's a Gundam.
yeah. It is actually a callback to Gundam Wing, right?
Ah,
Yeah. Based off the um, Gundam Wing, one of the Gundams, right? Someone on Twitter posted it. I saw it,
ooh.
and a lot of people forget that Killmonger is actually it's like a tinkering genius.
Yeah, I also forgot about that.
He graduated MIT, remember?
I only remember in this episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, this anime part is a callback to the actor, Michael B. Jordan, who after the Black Panther movies came out publicly and said like he's a weeb, that he loves Naruto and Dragon Ball, and he actually, I don't know if you know this, he actually requested that his Killmonger outfit in the movies be modeled after Vegeta's outfit in Dragon
Yes,
Ball,
yes.
which is
Like
amazing.
this, this particular episode's one was based off Vegeta's Saiyan outfit. It is inspired heavily.
I believe the original movie one is also, the blue and the
Oh yeah. It has the name Killmonger.
so good. It's so, yeah, like hands down, I love this scene.
Weeb.
No, I mean, if anything, if anybody is the weeb here, it's clearly Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah. I'm calling him a weeb. Yeah.
sorry, sensitive topic. But yeah, this is just the beginning of his master plan, because after this, he actually manages to convince Tony that, oh, in order to power the suits, you will need a power source. And Tony actually brings up the idea of using the arc reactor, which is funny. But the idea immediately gets thrown to the floor. And Killmonger suggests the idea of using vibranium instead. And this is where Rhodey goes and facilitates a underground like black market deal with what's his name? Ulysses
Claw.
Claw for the vibranium, which is a scene directly out of Black Panther, I believe.
Yeah, it is. Just to rewind a bit, right? That vibranium, that remaining vibranium that Killmonger had, was from his father's chain, and the arc reactor was passed down from Howard Stark to Tony Stark. So there's like a legacy theme here, and also like, father passing down to son, and what they're currently doing with it. And basically, when Tony designs the power source, in the movies, they never actually say what it is. They just say it's, like a compressed energy source, and they call it the arc reactor, but they never named the substance. So, I mean, if you're going to draw one and one together, right? So, in the movies or in the cinematic universe, which is canon, technically Iron Man created vibranium as a power source. Because, yeah, vibranium is the power source. Yeah,
I feel like we could unravel this if we look back at Iron Man 2, because the entire part of that movie was that the core that he was using for the arc reactor just wasn't working. It kept burning out because the element wasn't good enough. And I recall it was palladium or something that he was using temporarily.
That was what was implied, but the new arc reactor never got a name. That they never exactly named the element.
Yes.
So, and that's where we get the comparison to that Tony Stark was a genius enough to actually create vibranium as a power source.
Actually, now that you mention it, there is that scene from Iron Man 2 that parallels this episode that I didn't get a screenshot of. But there's this scene where they're covered in this hologram dome of the element, right, which is vibranium, and it 100% mirrors Iron Man 2 when he's figuring out what message his dad left behind for him. And there's this like amazing scene where that same hologram, but in this episode, is with Killmonger.
Yeah. So basically, vibranium as a power source is really powerful and clean. Yeah, let's sorry. What I wanted to say was Ulysses Claw, right? He's actually a major villain. Okay, a major B grade villain. Okay, right? Like I have to like phrase this properly.
Yeah.
He has been like Black Panther's one of like his main adversaries, right?
Nemesis.
Yeah, it's a rival, But they killed him off like the first, the first movie. I was like thinking, dude, this guy was supposed to be like the long term, build up. But I guess they got new, directions for Black Panther with Chadwick Boseman's passing and whatnot, right? So I'm sure like the direction for Black Panther has changed immensely. But Ulysses Claw is basically the leader for the Wrecking Crew in the Marvel universe, the comic universe. So the Wrecking Crew is a group of like misfits who have a wrecking crew. Yeah, it's like a wrecking crew theme, One guy has like a giant ball, and the wrecking crew, like the wrecking crew, like literally to demolish buildings. Yeah, I know. So that claw, because he can drill, and he's supposed to have. He's missing a hand, right? It's not supposed to be a hook. It's supposed to be a claw. And it's not CLA. It's not CLAW. It's KLAW. Like how I like it, right? Like claw.
In case you guys didn't know, right? The original cosplay commuter, was supposed to be cosplay commuter, but we eventually decided that it was not universal enough that nobody would understand this K thing. I'm glad we got rid of it. Just just to
Terrible,
be
terrible.
clear. Also, like half hour mark, right? I have to shout out Cosmic Computer. If you haven't signed up, it is an Amazing Race style event that you should totally join because we'll be doing 1 day of games, and it's actually next Saturday. 1 day of the games with new team members. You'll join with members of the community, and you might even get in a team with some special guests. So registration might be closing sometime this week. So if you want to sign up, you totally should. Like right now.
Yeah, and if you don't get to sign up, it's cool. You can walk in on the day itself,
Yes.
right? I'm
I
sure
mean,
we can make
digitally
some.
walk in.
Yeah, I wanted to phrase it, like, yeah, you still can enter, but walk in. Like, yeah. So we understand what the current circumstance with the world is. So we've always been innovating um, what we can push out as the Magic Rain as a group, right? And it seems this year taken a real turn because what we're doing here is pretty unique. I think it's Malaysia's first, cosplay Discord thing. Um, there's a lot of interesting activities going on, including a concert. So that's the big it's the big deal. Live
Yeah,
performances, none of this pre-recorded stuff. It's like all live. So that's gonna be great.
yeah. Let's get a little bit more into detail with the guests a little bit later in the podcast. I do want to run through the list of guests. Okay, back to the episode, right? So this is where the deal goes down with Ulysses Claw, and it gets hijacked by none other than Black Panther Chadwick Boseman. Yay!
Super cool.
Yeah, super cool. This entire battle, I believe, is almost right out of the Black Panther movie,
Yep,
but
it
there
is.
is some market changes. Mainly that Black Panther dies here. I don't know how else to put it. He dies here. Rhodey also dies here, and to nobody's surprise at all, I think who was surprised by this? The perpetrator was Killmonger.
Yeah, it's not me. I wasn't surprised at all.
I not really. Yeah, I think this episode is kind of meh in terms of the surprise factor. But interestingly, there is a callback here to Iron Man 1. This sonic gun thing that he's using here, whatever it's called, it's actually the device that Obadiah uses in Iron Man 1 to. What's the word?
Subdue.
Subdue Tony Stark and a couple of other characters in Iron Man 1.
Yeah, it's high frequency sonic rays
Ding.
and
Sound gun.
sonic gun.
High
To be honest,
sound, loud
to
gun.
be honest, the sonic gun was created by Reed Richards, and it's used to repel symbiotes because symbiotes can't take the sonic
Venom.
rays. Yeah, venom, carnage, toxin, all, all the other variations, right? Including a few other that I forgot what's his name. He's the Lord of the Symbiotes. That
Don't ask
Darkon.
me.
Yeah, something new. So yeah, so it was. The other thing that I found interesting was that the entire U.S. military went to war with Wakanda because of one pilot dying, which is James Rhodes, right? But that's not the case. I mean, that was the case, but the reason why they had such a strong retaliation in nature was because General Thunderbolt Ross is the guy behind, the commencing of all the attacks. That's why you get such an aggressive front. Or you guys kill one of our own, and we're gonna retaliate. If not, they're just gonna do that whole respectful um, funeral rites and just be done with it.
Oh, and before that, before you continue, I do have something to add to that. Baroom Summer says hi. Hi. Welcome to the
Hello,
stream. We
welcome,
are
welcome.
talking about one of episode 6, and later we're gonna talk about Hawkeye, the trailer. If you haven't watched, you should go and watch it now.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Hawkeye trailer is pretty good. It's about 3 to 4 minutes. Should you should watch it.
and it's so Christmassy. But yeah, I'll get to that later. I love it. Um, I wanted to mention something about General Ross actually. I think those who aren't super familiar with him um, might get a better idea of his character from episode 4? Or was it episode 3? Um, the one where all the Avengers died. The Avengers
Yeah,
serial killer episode.
that's episode 3, I think.
Seems like forever ago. But yeah, he appears there too, and he's trying to take down the Hulk.
He's always trying to take down somebody.
What can I
Dude
say?
is like an obsessed military character. But yeah,
But yeah, even in this scene, even after he kills both of them, he steals the claws from Black Panther. It's still he still manages to maintain his facade. Interestingly, like there didn't seem like he managed to clear up his 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 you know his trail. What's the word?
wow, his trail. I guess that's a good word. He sequences lah.
Yeah, he managed to cover up his actions, basically, and nobody has really figured out that he's the one behind this. And he kind of manages to plant the weapon onto Rhodey, which is kind of a nobody will get away with this in real life, right?
Indeed.
Yeah, but as a consequence, we get this really sad um, funeral scene with both Black Panther and Rhodey both being, yeah, carted off to their funeral.
Fun fact: the Dora Milaje is not carrying Black Panther's funeral casket. It is floating by itself.
Sorry.
Ah,
What? No!
because that is Wakanda's technology, by the way. And you know that strange symbols
Yeah?
on top of the coffin, right?
Yeah?
Sorry, we don't have an image of that. But it says Wakanda forever, which
Wow.
is, a reference to the next Black Panther movie. And it's also a low-key funeral for Chadwick Boseman in the MCU. Technically the MCU,
Yeah. So sad. I did have that thought. I think this episode, like, even if it was kind of boring, I think some of the best parts were the tribute to Chadwick Boseman, even though it wasn't really his episode, but we get that really great scene with him later on that I think was such a nice tribute to him.
And here comes, the penultimate, showcase of all what ifs that Iron Man must die.
Yeah. So what we get is my images out of order? Hold on. Are my images placed? Hey, what
I
happened
think,
to my image of him?
yeah,
No,
I think you don't have the image, but it's
I
okay,
thought I had it, but yeah. Basically after this funeral scene, Tony actually figures out who is behind this, and of course there's some kind of trail, right? But Tony's version of like the security camera footage is kind of crazy. He manages to actually recreate the scene using his tech, and that's how he finds out that Killmonger is the one who killed them both. But he kind of makes the stupid decision, I guess, of locking up his penthouse and trying to kill Killmonger by himself, as if he hasn't seen Killmonger in action. Does he really think at this point that he can kill Killmonger by himself? But he tries, he pits Killmonger's own machine against him, but of course it doesn't work. He uses the Dora Milaje spear and destroys it, and then subsequently uses it to kill Tony.
Anyways, what basically transpires is that Tony uses Jarvis to figure out,
Yes.
and Jarvis is like vision, right? Like all knowing. So that's how he finds out that Killmonger has been like slacking, right? And he has been like a whole lot. He's been doing a whole lot of perpetrating, and that's what you get basically. And I think the reason why he was so confident is because this Stark didn't undergo the transformation that our Stark went through. So that's why he's still overconfident, right? He thinks that bigger and better wins in terms of weaponry and technology. So this is what happens. He gets speared quite literally in the shoulder.
Yeah.
Right? Didn't really look like the heart, but I guess he wasn't as strong as he thought he was. And yeah, basically Iron Man has to pass away Iron Man has to be killed because a lot of the real world scenarios or the storytelling devices will not work if Iron Man was around. This is the same problem X-Men has when Professor X is around. So all the events doesn't have Professor X in it, right? Just go and look back at the past 20 years, past 30 years of Marvel history, right? Onslaught has been about Xavier and Magneto combining. Apocalypse is an alternate timeline where Xavier dies. House of M, Xavier is dead, right? Even the latest House of X, right? And House of 10, right? Which House of 10 is because it's House of X.
Yeah.
So right, you don't get Professor X, right? It's a backstory about Professor X and how Moira McTaggart comes into the whole picture, which is extremely frustrating for someone like me because Professor X is find some plot device to include the old man in. Every single time he's in, right, he's dead or he's wiped off or he's like reduced to like some background character.
Yeah.
Just frustrating.
Give the old guy a break, man. But yeah, I think there's a lot of interesting things. Like if we look at Tony Stark's role in the MCU or even the Marvel, I guess the MCU, right? There's a lot of things that wouldn't happen. In fact, I think the entire MCU might be derailed without him. Like, since he doesn't create Iron Man, does the Avengers still exist? Or does it exist without him? Do they still manage to reach the same height of success without him? Then of course there's Jarvis. He doesn't become Iron Man, so he doesn't create Vision. So there's that. And then it really
all these things doesn't happen.
Yeah. So it's a completely different universe, and I think it might have been more interesting if they focus on that aspect of it in the episode.
Not only that, I think like what you said, because the Iron Man was retconned to be the beginning of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So basically, if Iron Man doesn't happen, everything else doesn't happen. That is the domino effect.
Yeah, like going back to Avengers 1, Iron Man is the one that pushes the nuclear bomb into outer space. So if he doesn't do it, does somebody else do it? Like everything kind of falls apart. And then on top of that, it does make me think, I don't know if Marvel Studios just enjoys killing Tony Stark off or because a lot of Tony fans are really upset about it. Or could Tony's death be a Nexus event? That's something that we've never thought about before.
It could be, but I doubt, because they're bringing Reed Richards in. Reed Richards will surpass Stark in intellect.
In what?
Intellect. Like literally, Reed Richards is smarter
than answer anything.
No, so they can create someone who is superior than Stark. currently Stark is at the, Banner is a brilliant scientist, right? But you know what have look at what they have reduced him to, a pizza boy. So right, he's not amazing at anything. But you look at Tony, right? Tony is like developing time travel and whatever, which actually should be Reed Richards' strong point because he's the one with the cosmic radiation. He's the one that did the space travel. Tony Stark didn't, major in space travel.
Actually, right now that I'm thinking about it, um, they're they are definitely going to be doing a Fantastic Four movie in Phase Four, and the MCU is kind of in a place where, Tony's gone, and there's a perfect hole for there's perfect two characters actually to fit his role, to replace his role, which would be Doctor Strange and then Reed Richards. I think they kind of fill the gap of this snarky, um, intellectual, you know, kind of character.
Indeed. So, but yeah, you're not gonna get that same attitude because most intellectuals in the Marvel universe are boring people, right? Reed Richards, Spider Man. I mean, Spider Man's okay, right?
I
Spider
mean,
Man's pretty
Doctor
big.
Strange is.
Yeah, I'm talking about technology here, science,
I
right?
am a very like fantasy skewed person, so
Yeah,
I have to say Doctor Strange is this for me.
yeah, and the one that blends in both technology and the mystical arts is Doctor Doom.
He's
So
a
you gotta wait for
villain.
that guy. Sorry.
He's a
Yeah,
bad guy.
it's okay. You can have character development for bad guys also,
I
and
mean, this
cooler
is the
villains.
MCU. We're talking about character development for bad guys. It's
Look at
pretty. I can
Thanos.
count on like five. Within one hand. I would say Killmonger is up there, right? For sure. Thanos? Question mark? Not really. Zemo? Perhaps. And that's it.
Bucky. It's all the bad guys who became, heroes
I
later
don't
on.
even count him as like a bad guy per se.
Are
He
you
wasn't
sure? Did you
even.
watch the Winter Soldier? He was the bad guy, by the way. So, wow, look at the denial.
The Winter Soldier bad guy was. I mean. Oh, I'm thinking of the wrong movie. Civil War is Zemo. First movie is Red Skull. I guess. I
What do
mean,
you mean? Yes.
it's Winter
You-
Soldier slash whoever programmed him. Zemo lah, right?
Yeah. It was Zemo. Zemo programmed it.
See,
Yeah, but the titular character of the movie was the Winter Soldier.
it's Captain
like-
America and the Winter Soldier. It's about their bromance.
Oh man, I'm not getting into this toxic Twitter
It's
conversation.
not
Okay.
toxic. Okay, fine. Topic for another time. Let's get back to
Let's
this
go.
because we tangent. This is like tangent the episode.
Super tangent.
Anyway, yeah. After Tony Stark dies, then Killmonger pretty much gets full power. Pretty much, he manages to convince General Ross and everybody else involved that it is the Wakandans' fault. That it is everything went sour once Black Panther showed up. So they managed to build so many hundreds, thousands of his robots, his Gundams, and they launch an attack on Wakanda. And this is kind of like Act 3 of the episode already. Nothing to say about this picture.
Nope, nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing much.
And I didn't expect this. Although I guess in retrospect I should have expected this. But Killmonger actually takes this opportunity to kill Ulysses Claw and use him as leverage to get him back into Wakanda's good books. And if you think back to Black Panther, this is his ultimate goal. His goal hasn't changed, right? He ultimately wanted to be kind of take revenge on how his father was treated, but also reclaim power for Wakanda, what he feels like is his rightful position, right? So this makes sense. He brings Ulysses' dead body into Wakanda and uses it as a symbol of like a peace offering.
It is this exact same plot device that was in Black Panther, by the way. He killed a claw and then he brings him over to get
Why do I
passage.
not remember that? It's been a while
Yeah.
since I watched Black Panther, I guess.
Yeah, that, and people have memory issues. But I'm not gonna say anything. I'm pretty sure that he did that whole I'm the son of Jobu,
Yeah.
and then showed his neon,
Yeah.
didn't really take care of his gums kind of thing. I mean, yeah, um, that was all in Black Panther, by the way.
Yeah, this next scene where he shows up in front of T'Chaka and then claims all this, I think it's pretty much the same, except Chadwick Boseman would have been there. T'Challa would have been there, I believe. Except he's not here anymore because he's dead. No. Anyway,
That
in
is
this
so
scene, in this scene, T'Chaka kind of immediately trusts him because it's his brother, right? His brother's son, his nephew. The only person here who is kind of like, this situation is sus, is Shuri. Which,
Yeah.
makes sense. Shuri, Lady of Science.
I like Shuri's character. I honestly believe that she will succeed the Black Panther throne. I think.
In the MCU?
I think so. Because there's a huge gap from what they are building towards and the relevance of Black Panther within the, African American community itself, because they're going to introduce the X-Men sometime down the line, right?
Mm.
And Black Panther's wife is
Storm.
Ororo Munro, yes, Storm, right? And she's the Queen of Africa, right? So, Black Panther is the king of Wakanda. So that is like the huge power couple matrimony that people want to see as a representation of African American communities. But I'm not entirely sure that's the direction they will take, unless they make Wakanda forever and then they kill Shuri in the process. Someone else takes over as Chadwick Boseman's actor, unless they replace this actor 1-to-1.
They've already mentioned that they're not going to replace Chadwick and they're gonna write T'Challa's death into the story. So I have some confidence in that area. I feel like Shuri is the most logical replacement, but at the same time I'm kind of worried because Marvel doesn't exactly have a good track record when it comes to developing female protagonists. Like, I'm thinking back to Captain Marvel, and honestly it's not a bad movie, but the way that they directed Brie Larson and just the way they wrote her character, it's so terrible.
I felt like they were forcing something down our throat. That's
and when I look back to all the other like female characters, even Hope, right? For example, I think Hope always comes up together with Black Widow when it comes to powerful female characters in the MCU. But they're so terribly written. Like Hope, it just immediately falls into that. Actually, both of them kind of immediately fall into that trope of like, whoa, I'm a super smart, super hot, like spy character. Come on.
You gotta wait until Jennifer Walters comes on screen.
Yeah, but
Jennifer
I'm
Walters
really
is,
excited for She-Hulk, right?
Yeah, She-Hulk. Yeah.
But I'm also kind of like approaching all these new shows and movies with some hesitance.
I mean, they did try to do that formula with Jessica Jones, but yeah, I think it was too edgy.
But yeah, we get this scene of, it's just a bit sad to watch, because T'Chaka immediately trusts him and he just so easily worms his way into their trust and into their family, pretty much. I think this next scene is actually one of the best scenes in the show, though. And I just want to point out as a side note that I think everybody has noticed that the Watcher is getting closer and closer and more defined as each episode goes on. So I'm really excited to see how that turns out. Um,
He's going to interfere. I've been saying this since episode one.
I know.
Nobody wants to believe me.
I
Like,
mean,
the reason why he's getting closer and closer is not because he's like watching closer and closer, right? Like, oh, I can't tell the details. I need to watch closely,
of course it's
right?
not that. I know he's going to interfere, but I just don't think it's going to be like a multiversal Avengers.
Then how does he fix it? By taking one universe's Avengers and fixing the next, right? He has to take splinter universes and combine, and hopefully they will fix each other in the process. I mean, don't worry. At the end of episode 9, right? You can say, "Cha,
I,
you're welcome."
I
Right?
mean, okay, I am already kind
Sorry,
of expecting.
I will say you are welcome. Right? You can say, "Cha, thank you." Right? That's what you're gonna say. Trust me.
Shut up.
Right? And 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 the funniest thing is, right? His head gets bigger and bigger, right? You might be thinking that the watches. We all know the watch is old, right? It's like his eyesight is not that great, right? So like he keeps pinching, right? He keeps zooming out, right? The lens of the world, so he can take a closer look, what all these people are doing, and like, ah man, why are you doing this? That's how I feel about it. Because you don't want to take my theory of like, the reason why he's becoming more corporeal of a form is because it's that inevitability that he's going to collide and interfere with the laws of the universe, right? It's a metaphorical thing, but you think that oh no, I'm so old,
No, I
right?
never said that. You were the one who said that and just like made that my thing. No, I
No, no,
do
no.
agree that he's going to interfere. I just don't know how it's gonna happen. I know that the Watcher in the comics has this track record of interfering with situations, and not all of them actually turn out better than when he left them alone. I just don't know if it's gonna be a multiversal Avengers, but it does seem like the prevailing theory. But at this point, like, I don't know. What if as a whole, right? And I think we can get into it a little bit later. Um, there is pretty much zero overarching story, so that's why I'm just like unsure.
That's true.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of maybe the final episode will be 100% the Watcher. That might be kind of cool. But for now, we get this scene of Killmonger looking out on the sunset, and this was him fulfilling the fond memory that his father kept telling him about of watching the sunset with his brother. And at the end of Black Panther, he actually gets to watch the sunset right before he dies, but this is different.
As he dies,
he,
nice.
I mean, that's what happens.
I know.
Yeah.
Go on.
So
There's like,
it's just a nice thing, nice scene that they decided to throw in. And at the same time, T'Chaka is just totally, I don't know, his trust is almost unbelievable. He makes Killmonger the next Black Panther. Like what?
yeah, which is also 100%, just a reskin of the Black Panther movie. Instead of Chadwick Boseman, it's Michael B. Jordan,
Actually, don't you
drinking the.
remember their fight? He put on the Black Panther suit as well, and his was gold.
I know.
T'Challa's one is silver.
Yeah. What I'm saying here is that the part where he drinks the,
Oh yeah.
and then he lies down and.
Yeah, but there is some difference. When he gets a glimpse of that other plane. I don't know
The
what
life, the plane afterlife.
Yeah, this is where he sees T'Challa, and I think everybody was like bawling at this scene.
He's speaking to us from the other side.
No. Yeah.
It
He
was a nice take. It was a nice
yeah.
take.
He asks if this was worth it. If it was worth it, and Killmonger replies, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, like and I like the juxtaposition of what um T'Challa is wearing. So in life he was the Black Panther, and in his afterlife he's wearing white. So there's a good juxtaposition right there.
It's also very telling um when T'Challa drank the Black Panther juice. you, what do you call it?
Wow,
Drink? I mean,
juice
what else? Wine? Not wine.
is the concoction, lah, right?
Potion.
Yeah,
Whatever.
substance, right?
Juice.
This
So he drinks the
chemical.
grape juice, and then what
Wow,
he sees is he sees his father.
extremely racist term, but yeah.
Wow. But yeah,
Um,
he sees his father, and uh, it's kind of interesting, the parallel, because what Killmonger sees is, I guess, kind of his regrets, or
yeah,
pretty much
it's a
T'Challa is everything he, T'Challa had everything that Killmonger wanted, right? And now he finally got everything that he wanted, but he had to kill T'Challa in the process. So it's kind of a parallel there.
it's a manifestation of paradox,
Yeah.
his own paradox.
But
But
yeah, very sad.
yeah, let's move on.
Yeah.
Let's see Killmonger in his Vegeta suit.
In this final section, um, well, Killmonger still has to go through with the whole war thing. In fact, on the American side, they still think that Killmonger is on their side, and they are launching the attack on Wakanda with all the robots. And so, through some feat of like conviction, he manages to cheat everyone into opening the shield and then closing it to interfere with the signal, which does work, and then earning their trust that way, and then subsequently turning on the machines himself again. Like, my
It's a
god.
it's a it's a double cross,
Yeah.
right? Like
At this point, it's like a quadruple hexagonal cross.
wow. I would have stopped at pentagonal, but you just had to take it one
Octagonal.
step. Wow, went further. Anyways, the entire setup was, I guess, him proving to Wakanda, or at least proving to T'Chaka, right, that he belonged. I think that's the ultimate thing that he was looking for, because if Tony Stark's first part of this episode is about his sense of self, then Killmonger is about sense of belonging, right?
Yeah.
So he wants to belong to Wakanda and he was willing to do anything. I mean, it's a cool scene. Like, this is the coolest scene in the entire episode, right? Where you get to see Killmonger ride a,
Rhino.
cybernetic rhinoceros through a field of Gundams, So that was pretty cool, right? That was pretty cool.
The ultimate anime boy dream.
Yeah, probably, while he's wearing a Vegeta suit, right? So that was pretty on.
Yeah, I basically have some pictures of the battle, but overall it's just kind of sad because everybody is like for T'Challa, and Killmonger is like Wakanda forever, and it's all like very action and very like, it's sad. I have
One,
a screenshot of that scene where the general T'Challa's mother was just crying on the battlefield.
yeah, and that was one thing that we didn't get in the movies. I didn't know that the leader of the queen is the leader of the Dora Milaje. Always thought that um, there was no Dora Milaje leader. So
I
yeah,
thought it was Okoye.
that was, uh, Okoye seems to be like the lead, but was more like like
Not the
a
general,
king.
yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't know that the queen is like the lead for, uh, and I didn't know that she was the one who was supposed to charge people into battle. So this is like a new right, probably. You might see this in Wakanda Forever as well.
It
Like the
makes,
queen is
yeah,
the commanding shout to enter battle.
yeah. It makes it even more interesting because Shuri is technically the last of the bloodline, right? If she were
Yeah.
to get married to somebody, then she would be queen. Does that make her the leader of the general, the Dora Milaje, or
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure if this is like a transitional thing, you know, like are all queens supposed to be the leader of the Dora Milaje, or is it only in this universe that somehow T'Challa's mother was so proficient in like combat, right, and the arts that she was the leader of the Dora Milaje? I mean, Okoye can be seen in this episode, you know, to a less um, feature-worthy representation, but um, it just could be a different person and different culture, you know, in this universe.
yeah. I mean, there are all the different tribes, right, in Black Panther. Um, and as we know, it could, for all we know, it could be something like the Black Panther, the title of Black Panther, where anybody can come up and fight the person who for the title of Black Panther. So it might be something like that. Who knows?
Could be.
Like maybe T'Challa's mother was already in the Dora Milaje, right? And then she got married to the king. Who knows, right?
Yeah, that is most likely what would have happened here.
Kind
Like,
of
let's
like a
say,
similar situation with oh my god, what's her name? With
who?
T'Challa's love romantic interest in the movies.
No, I forgot her name. She
But
wasn't
yeah,
Storm, so I didn't bother.
but you know that lady, right? Could be
Um,
something like that, I guess. She was a member of the Dora Milaje, I believe.
yeah, doesn't really matter now.
Anyway,
Um, yeah, and we hit into like the final scene.
yeah, I think the final scene was probably the most frustrating for a lot of viewers because this is uh,
Another cop out
another
ending.
exactly. So in this final scene, we get Pepper, who is really unsatisfied with how things have turned out. Uh, what happened to like Killmonger's betrayal, Tony Stark's death, and everything. And then she goes into Tony's office and she sees Shuri there, who this is like a younger Shuri, I think it's worth pointing out, and she has proof of Killmonger's actions. So presumably they reveal the truth and everything gets set right, but we don't know. It's so annoying. It's just like when we flash to Thanos, zombie Thanos, right? And then now we have this like scene which is slightly more hopeful, but it's still annoying. I want to see the good ending. Show me the good ending.
Yeah, so it's the same with Doctor Strange's universe, right? So
Yeah,
a
that
lot
too.
of it is that, yeah, a lot of it is like cop out endings, and I'm telling you guys, like all these things need to be fixed. So who's going to do the fixing? The Watcher's head is too big to do any fixing, so he's going to have to hire, right, for the lack of a better term, an interdimensional Avengers.
Okay,
But I'm not
okay.
entirely sure what they're going to call themselves. Maybe the Watch Avengers or something. Marvel
The
figures something.
Watchers. Huh?
That is a direct reference to the Watchmen, in DC, which is ridiculous.
The Watch
The,
Boys and Girls.
the Watch people, right?
The Watch Persons.
Oh my god, like
But yeah, I am slowly coming around to that idea. I I have no idea whether this kind of like sudden ending is intentional or not, but
it is like
I don't know. On one hand, I want to say that Marvel is incredibly detail oriented and they wouldn't just do this for fun, right? Something so obvious. But on the other hand, we had like really disappointing endings to quite a few of the TV shows so far. So
yeah, that's because it's a TV series, right? Like
this
they
is a
gotta
TV
milk.
series.
Yeah, what I'm saying is they have to milk it because there's seasons to it. It's not like a movie where everything has to be like crafted perfectly, whatnot.
No, like I'm
If they can
thinking
just
of
retcon something in the next season.
I'm thinking of like WandaVision, right, which is not coming back, a mini series. I mean, like Loki is coming back because it's an actual TV series and not a mini series. This one is coming back, so I don't know. It could be a cliffhanger ending, but like WandaVision, it's still kind of
But
Annoying.
for Marvel to do such a bad episode this late into What If, it
Yeah.
doesn't really bode well, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people who said that this was their favorite episode, and I kind of get it because Killmonger's character was really interesting. But I still feel like this episode would have been better like earlier, like episode 2, huh? Before they
Yeah,
went too crazy, you know?
their sequencing probably is off. Like
Like,
episode 2 should have been like closer towards the end,
it
where
really.
Thanos becomes a good guy.
It also makes me wonder if it's a production issue. You know,
It's
maybe
either that
they'll
or
put it out later
it,
because they couldn't finish it.
no, not entirely. It could be a pacing issue as well. Like every single episode of What If has been escalatingly impressive, right, from 1 to 5. But this one is probably the downward slope before they hit us with another high.
Mm.
That is the optimistic take, right? My take is that Marvel is just purely lazy.
But I guess if we're going with the trend of the TV series so far, the next episode, episode 7, is gonna be like again, and then the last 2 episodes are gonna be crazy.
I last week I said that this was going to be about Thor because the
I
key
think you saw like
thumbnail
a
image
leak,
was
right? Yeah,
Thor. Sorry?
I think you saw a leak. I saw the leak as well later on. I saw
Yeah.
Korg dancing or something.
No, I haven't seen anything of that sort yet. But like the key thumbnail for episode 6 Marvel promo was Thor,
Huh.
right? And they did show like, a few, like moving segments of Thor, and they interlaced it with like so many other things. As usual. So I was thinking, yeah, it has to be about Thor. And lo and behold, it's not about Thor.
I mean, if there's anyone who is super excited and can't wait for a Thor episode between, it's me. I can't
Yeah,
wait
I
for it.
know.
I hope they do one. I mean, I'm looking at the intro sequence, right? We've seen Black Panther, we've seen Black Widow already. The ones missing are Captain Marvel and Thor. We don't have episodes on that, so
I don't want to see Captain Marvel, please. Like that
I
is
kind
not
of
an
hope they will
episode.
redeem her. There's gonna be so much more Captain Marvel content coming, you know. There's gonna be a movie. There's gonna be a series. I mean, the series is Miss Marvel, but presumably Carol Danvers appears. She writes Carol Danvers fan fiction. Like, come on.
I don't know. Like I'm a bit desensitized towards the whole Captain Marvel thing. You know how I feel about Captain Marvel, right? It's only one Marvel, Jenny's well, right? That's it, right? You guys can, enjoy the MCU Captain Marvel as long as you like, because
Wow.
it's not the real Captain Marvel.
But anyway, I think that kind of sums up our thoughts about this week's episode. It's really hard. I think last week's predictions is pretty much proves this, but it's really hard to predict what's gonna happen next. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. I'll just pray that it's a Thor episode.
Yeah, I'm gonna say next week is Thor, right? So better make sure it's Thor, Marvel.
Anyway, before we move on to talking about the Hawkeye trailer, right? Moment Puyao asked us, what do you guys think about the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer? We actually didn't get a chance to talk about this because the week that we wanted to talk about this, we had technical difficulties.
Moment Puya actually asks a really good question because we were really prepared to go deep into the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer, and there's a lot of things on that trailer that I personally like because it's a lot of references to the comic books, right? And it's a huge implication. Like, I mean, off screen, me and Nathalie had a conversation about what it could imply, and I did say that this was the last movie that Marvel will be holding, right? In terms of rights for Spider-Man. After this, they're going to give it back to Sony, and Sony is not going to let go of like a $5 million movie franchise, right? $5 billion movie franchise, just so that you understand how big this franchise is. And with an upcoming game, right? And supposedly Venom 2, which went into cinemas 2 days ago, right? Apparently, apparently Sony delivered on Venom 2. Dude, like Venom 1 was like, it's not too bad,
I didn't even watch
Venom,
it.
yeah, I know, but
Okay,
it's
I
Tom
was
Hardy.
really okay. I might watch it because it's Tom Hardy, but I was really against it at first because Venom is a villain. I hate franchises that try to redeem villains by turning them into anti-heroes. Like, I want to see Venom as a full-on villain. So I didn't watch the
Yeah,
first one, but now that they're doing a
exactly.
second one, I might.
Exactly. That's how I feel as well. Because honestly, Venom beat up people and not become like the anti-hero. And
Yeah.
of course, the next iteration of Venom is going to be really disappointing for a lot of people because he becomes Deadpool, just that he's black and white and he uses guns. Right? They call him the anti-Venom. But um, I digress. So moving forward, like where Spider-Man is headed with all these legal implications, with Venom 2's ending credits following exactly like how Marvel wanted. And a lot of people have said that Venom 2's end credits delivered on all fronts,
Damn.
right? A lot of people like
I
this
don't
is
have
like,
enough context.
right? Like, and I don't know because, cinemas in Malaysia have not reopened
Open. Yeah.
fully yet. They are doing stage by stage, but it's going to take a while for all these backlogged movie to actually be on the big screen, and I want to watch it on the big screen, right? And that's the issue right now because we are backlogged by 6 months of Marvel movies, right? You're gonna. I have to watch Black Widow. I have to watch Venom. I have to watch
Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi, which, by the way, aired last week, right?
Man, I. Anyway, I have a lot of thoughts of that. So.
And apparently, Shang-Chi's end credit features a Marvel guy, like an Avenger, right? Um, thank God I've seen all the spoilers, but I have not been spoiled because the spoilers were kind enough to not post up, Iron Man dies at the end of Shang-Chi or whatever, like that's the worst thing that people can do. Um, so and not only that, after that we have the Eternals. Like the Eternals is like, I don't know, it's like a stone's throw away, right? And at the end of the day, we're gonna get No Way Home. That's a lot of movies with a lot of backlog that I hope that our cinema providers here in Malaysia will be kind enough to extend because it's been a long time. A discount would definitely help as well.
I don't know how long. I don't know how you managed to go on for so long about Spider-Man No Way Home without actually talking about Spider-Man No Way Home. So I'm gonna talk about No Way Home, okay?
Go ahead, go ahead.
So I think like I should put this out there, right? I'm not a huge fan of MCU Spider-Man, Tom Holland Spider-Man. I kind of, as much as as much as like the other movies might be a little bit bad, I feel like their portrayal of Spider-Man, that's what I grew up with, that's the Spider-Man I know. And to see like
Which
Tom
one?
Holland,
Which one, Toby?
Toby. I grew up with
Yeah.
Toby, and then even when I went on to watch Andrew Garfield, right, it wasn't too far away, right? It's still Spider-Man, ma.
No, man.
So
I felt like Andrew Garfield, Peter Parker being cool is never. Peter Parker riding the skateboard, right? Talking to girls with, right? Finger
I
guns.
mean, I
No,
just since when
no,
are finger guns cool?
no. Peter Parker thinking it's cool, right?
Yeah,
Trying
exactly.
to be cool. Peter was never like that. Peter is he's a recluse.
But I mean, I still feel like it was
He's a nerd.
fairly close to Peter Parker as I know him, right? Because he's ultimately like this uncool like nerd guy, right? And even though he tried like in any situation where he tries to be cool, he's still kind of like a nerd and a dork, right? So I
Yeah, that's why
feel like
he never tries to be cool. He's just a nerd. Nerd. Go
anyway,
back
the
home
point
and play Super Mario Maker 2.
shut up. The point I was trying to make, right, is that even Andrew Garfield Spider-Man is not too far away, right? But I grew up with Toby. So I think the closest one to Spider-Man that I know today would probably be the Marvel Zombies episode in What If. Like, that to me was like, oh my god, it's Spider-Man. The first time in like the MCU I've been actually really excited for Spider-Man. So when I think of No Way Home, it's 100% Doctor Strange for me. I'm not gonna really watch it for Tom Holland or Spider-Man. I'm gonna watch it for Doctor Strange. I think there's so many things about the trailer that other people have said already, right? Like it is, people were shocked. They thought that Doctor Strange was gonna like clean up the multiverse issue that Loki caused, that Wanda caused, right? But nope, he is also one of them. And I think my main thought is that I am in team Doctor Strange characterization. I feel like this is very true to his character. He is this like, I think people forget that he's like a chaotic he's a chaotic individual who is 100% like knowledge first. In that sense, he's very Ravenclaw, I guess, like learning and knowledge above anything else. So seeing him like just try a spell for the sake of trying a spell, I can totally see it. But also I kind of think that that part in the trailer where he says stop interfering with the spell, he says presumably to Spider-Man, right? I feel like he's talking to somebody else. That's my theory. I think that somebody else is messing with his spell, and that's what causes it to happen. And then the rest of the movie will be him and Tom Holland, Spider-Man, Peter trying to fix it. I think there were a lot of lines in the trailer that were kind of accusatory from Doctor Strange to Spider-Man, but I feel like that might be misleading us. It might be red herring. It's very like MCU style to post a trailer that is completely different from the actual movie. So I still think, yeah, I still think that might happen.
It's a swerve.
But I can already like, even though I can't really predict the plot now, I feel like a huge component of the movie will be Doctor Strange guiding Peter through this reality where everybody knows who he is. Like there's that line in the trailer, right? Like the problem is you're trying to live two identities, like two different worlds right now. And I think at the end of the movie, Peter will realize that him and Spider-Man are one, and that's his like next growth as a hero. I feel like that's where the character development would go. Although plot-wise, I have no idea how they're gonna get there.
I think it was hinted at the Doctor Strange episode. I think what Doctor Strange will do is that he will create two realities but it's in one universe, similar to like how Stephen Strange is light and dark, right? So one is Peter Parker and one is Spider-Man, and at the end of it, Peter has to make all these decisions and understand that he's both. And the representation of Tobey Maguire, I think, is more true towards the comics, right? Like it's a nerd, and all everything, like the whole canon of Spider-Man, right? The whole wrestling gimmick, how he gets his suit, all that is canon. But I feel that Spider-Man, Tom Holland, is the heart of Spider-Man, like what Spider-Man is about as a character, like relentless hope in a bleak situation. Yeah, that's Spider-Man, right? It's not, undying leadership. Undying leadership is, controversially Cap, right? But that is basically what Spider-Man symbolizes, right? The ability to move forward when things are really hard.
I mean, it could also be that the MCU Spider-Man is just not there yet, right? Because we still see him as a kid, he doesn't fully want to embrace his superhero side. We saw that in Far From Home, and I think he's still kind of on that journey. And maybe I'm having too high expectations, but I really do want them to resolve that character dilemma that he's on in No Way Home.
Yeah, Moment Puyal says mind blowing and true, and I grew up with Toby, but now I've fallen for Tom. Yeah, I grew up with Toby, and I'm fully behind Tom Holland because this version of Spider-Man doesn't feel forced down your throat, like, I mean, there's like a few things we have to get straight, right? Why is Aunt May so hot, right? Because when you look at Aunt May in all the other Spider-Mans, right? Oh man,
I'm not
Aunt,
complaining. I mean,
yeah, but like even to draw parallels, right? I'm drawing parallels in from 2018 Spider-Man the game, right, by Insomniac Studios. Aunt May was pretty, in great shape for a woman her age. So the dynamics of like the age relationship has changed because Uncle Ben is like 75 or something, and Peter was like 21 or something, like
yeah.
it's like a 50-year gap, and it doesn't make sense. So right now, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Like Peter's Peter's in like high school, right? And Aunt May is probably like 40 something, So the age generation has like they've made it modern, because it's going to be very hard for people to accept, and that's one thing. That's one thing.
I guess I don't know. Maybe I'm a traditionalist when it comes to Spider-Man. Like, I just feel like MCU's departure from Spider-Man as we know him in the comics and in the original, like the first few movies, it's just so different. I'm still struggling to wrap my head around, and maybe like a big part of that, of why Tom Holland is a bit for me, is because he's my age. Like everybody's like, Tom Holland's so hot. I'm like, yikes, he's my age. He's exactly my age.
You know, you're probably taller than him as well, but
Yeah, I think so.
yeah, and the issue with Spider-Man is that it has had so many great comic runs, right? And I feel like the Ultimate Universe is like the best run so far. They made like brilliant storyline, right? Brian Bendis and Mark Bagley did a great run. I'm not saying that, currently I think it's Dan Slott on Spider-Man, if I'm not mistaken. They did a pretty good run as well, but there's a lot of Miles Morales came in. Miles Morales was also created by Bendis, by the way. In case uh, people here don't know, I think he was drawn by Sarah, forgot her name, but yeah, Sarah. I'm sure her name is Sarah. So that was like a juxtaposition in terms of like the Spider-Man, the cultural implications, the relatability, the age, right, and also the generational gap and the socio-cultural and socio-economical issues that was central to Spider-Man, Peter Parker, that was being transferred over to Miles Morales. And you know that Miles Morales is like a big thing now, right? With Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah,
So
and Into the
don't be
Spider-Verse too.
yeah, and don't be surprised if one of the universes that Strange goes to is the animated universe.
Okay, so I don't want to raise my hopes that high because if that happens, it's gonna completely break my entire build, like being. You know how much I like Into the Spider Verse. I feel like maybe that's also one of the reasons why I find it difficult to accept MCU Spider
I
Man,
I
because
I
Into the Spider Verse is such a great example of a Spider Man story, Spider Man origin story.
and that's the thing, right? It's by Sony. Nobody expected Sony to pull off something like that. And since Marvel's handing it over back to Sony, it's only right in the proprietary sense of things to leverage off what Sony has done, right? Because Sony wants all this, so, as like a business move, and even from a storyline point of view, yeah, just throw in a cameo. It could be like mid-credit scene, right? An animated Doctor Strange in Into the Spider-Verse fashion. It would work. You know, fans are gonna go crazy, right? Sony's gonna love it. It's a win-win.
Motorbike.
That was a really loud motorbike,
I
But
told you I'm right
yeah,
next to the road.
And yeah, I hope Moment Puya was happy with the discussion about like um what we both thought about Spider-Man's No Way
I
Home's
think we could go on
this.
for forever, honestly.
Yeah, I think we have to cover this like officially, right? Like, after. And you know what's the best thing? Star Wars Visions
Yes,
hits next week, and I'm
next
like thinking,
Wednesday.
yeah, and I'm like thinking, nah, man, how am I gonna do this? Like, I'm watching a few things now, right? Comic based, and it's pretty good, right? Um, Historically based as well. I'm watching Wu Tang, an American saga. So if you like history, um, African American music, black culture, that is something that you need to watch because the Wu Tang Clan is probably the most influential hip hop group ever, right? Like from the 90s till now, anyone that you talk about will know who's RZA, Jeezy, Method Man, Ghostface Killer, anyone, right? That's one aspect of it. I'm watching Why the Last Man,
It's not out
right?
yet, is it?
It is out. Okay, it's
I wanted to
episode
watch
three
it
already.
too.
Yeah, it's episode three, right? Right about now. I'm watching that and I'm liking it because I was following the comics, right? And by the way, if you guys have the chance to buy the comics, buy it because it's super expensive, right? It's only gonna go up in price. Like very much like The Walking Dead. And now I have Visions to follow up. So and then on top of that I have to do the Marvel What If, right? So that's like a lot going on. And if you know me, right, I watch pro wrestling on like a weekly basis. That's gonna be another thing. So yeah, that's it's gonna be a lot on my schedule basically.
Yeah, and here I was wondering whether we should have
Oh,
a
moment.
special like Star Wars section of our podcast next week just to talk about visions. But anyway, yeah. Mumin asks, what about the next Iron Man? I think the next Iron Man should be what is it? The one with Rhodey.
Ironheart,
No, no,
Ironheart,
no, no, no. Before that, um,
War
something
Machine.
Wars, Iron
Oh,
Wars,
Armor Wars,
Armor Wars.
Armor Wars.
Yes, it's
Yeah,
that would be the
I
first one, and then after that will be Ironheart.
yeah, I think it'll be that girl. What's her name?
Right, Riri Williams.
I don't think she's who's the girl that they reveal at the end of Avengers. At the funeral. Oh, what's her name? During Tony Stark's funeral.
His daughter, Morgan.
Is it Morgan Stark? No, I don't think
Yeah,
so.
his daughter, Morgan.
With who? Pepper Potts?
She was sitting with Happy.
Yeah. So I'm not entirely sure, right? Like, what is the implication on that? But the next Iron Man is, oh man, I think they're just gonna go the Young Avenger route, right?
Which
They're
I'm
just gonna
very
go the
excited
Young
for.
Avenger.
I haven't talked about
Yeah.
the Young Avengers in a while, but I'm very excited.
So the Armor Wars is going to be really something because Iron Man is not going to be present.
I think right, like from a fandom perspective, it is okay. I obviously didn't read the Armor Wars comics. I think most people will be like me. So maybe if you could give a run through. Did you read them?
So yeah. I actually have all the issues. The
Wow.
the thing about Armor Wars is that Armor Wars happened in the Ultimate Universe. Just technically not canon, but kind of canon,
I
right? And there is an Armor Wars that also happens the Marvel Universe after they saw, oh wow, the Ultimate Universe did pretty well. So let's translate this over. But I never really understood like the implication of it in the MCU because there's not enough armor users now. So nobody who uses the armor who like the person they kind of diluted the power levels of everyone that everyone is technically using a technological suit because you have Black Panther who's running on a vibranium, the extremist nanocell technology, right?
Yep.
That is considered an armor. Then you have the Hulkbuster armor. Then you have War Machine, right? Who else? Sam
I guess
Wilson.
Iron Spider.
Yeah, the Iron Spider. Technically Sam Wilson, right?
Yeah, but
It,
his technology is from Wakanda, so I wouldn't count that in.
yeah, but it's armor, right? It's not about whose technology it is, right?
Armor
Like,
Anonymous. How cool
right?
would that be? The Tony Stark
Uh,
dev support group.
Armors Anonymous, right?
Yeah,
All
exactly.
these armorers that come together on a weekly basis, right? To talk about their addiction to making armor and arc reactors to power themselves.
But of course,
I
I
just
feel
feel that it's gonna
mm,
be weird.
I I don't know what to expect from it. Of course, there's two, right? Firstly, there'll be Armor Wars, which might lead into Ironheart a little bit. But I presume Armor Wars will focus on Don Cheadle's character, Rhodey's character development. I think like slowly he's become a very significant side character that people want to explore, and that's the point of the MCU TV series anyway. So I guess it will be exploring him. Uh, and from what I've seen on like Wikipedia and other places, it will be him dealing with Tony's death. And I think there is this. It's not emphasized enough, but they were actually best friends. So I'm looking forward to that. I really like Don Cheadle too, so I'm excited for that.
Yeah,
But in terms of plot, like it's just so far away from the comics. I don't know if they will follow the comics very much.
yeah. So, like, to answer Moment Puyao's question, I feel that they are trying to move away from Iron Man and try and expand the Iron Man family, but they don't want to deal with Iron Man because Iron Man has been in the MCU for like what, 12
10
years?
plus, yeah.
Yeah, it's about 12 years. And the entire MCU has been kind of centric on Robert Downey Jr.'s
Yeah.
character, right? So I think they're trying to branch away, trying to breathe life into all these other characters. Um, Don Cheadle's James Rhodes, right? James Rhodes doesn't get enough exposure
I always
as
forget
it
his name
is.
is James. He has the
Sorry?
same name as Bucky. Bucky's name is also James.
Yeah, and War Machine is like ultimately far cooler than Iron Man because War Machine has a lot more missiles and guns and lasers, right? So I think why Iron Man took a backseat to War Machine is because they wanted to present Iron Man as the titular character, right? Like the center of the universe. But with all these branching storylines, you can 100% tell. Like if you watched Loki in season one, and if you saw the ending for Loki, you know there's a multiversal war coming, right? Because of Kang. It's already been hinted at. It's not even a spoiler. That is why you have What If. That is why you have all these branching dimensions. So if you watched Loki, you know that this is what they're hinting at. That variance of Kang is going to cause like a huge problem in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and that's why all these other stories are going to come in. They're going to bring back Cap to life. Trust me, it's going to happen.
Huh. I I mean beyond the multiversal aspect, I don't know if the Armor Wars will even focus on that. But now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like where Rhodey kind of lacks as a character is he doesn't really have any like connecting other characters like that are really connected to him besides Iron Man. Like of course you think of when you think of Cap, right, in the MCU, it's Black Widow, it's Bucky, it's Sam, right, immediately. But who is Rhodey's like connecting characters? Not really. Um, Even when I think of like Happy or Pepper, not really because Happy is already linked to Spider-Man at this point. Maybe Pepper, but I don't know if Gwyneth is gonna return. So I guess I'm really interested to see who they're gonna pair up with him because it's a very MCU thing to pair up multiple characters for a show. But right, I do feel that Armor Wars will be linked to Ironheart like somehow because we know Riri Williams, right? She is a huge Iron Man fan. She recreates the Iron Man armor for herself because she's a fangirl. And in her comics, Iron Man is actually her mentor. who helps her like finish the suit, and she like follows him on some missions and that sort of thing. And Iron Man actually starts as being her AI, like Jarvis is to Iron Man. So it's gonna be really interesting to see how they navigate this post Tony's death. I wonder if Riri will have a relationship with Rhodey then, because they were both so close to, like, Tony meant so much to them, right? But also really interestingly is it's already confirmed that Riri Williams will make her first appearance in the Wakanda Forever movie, I think. So that's gonna be interesting.
Basically, what if we're gonna talk about Armor Wars is 100% Tony Stark story, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it could go with the Sam, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier kind of storyline, right? Where Rhodey is trying to find who he is, like outside of association with Iron Man, just like how Sam was trying to separate his own identity from who Steve was as Captain America. It could be something like that.
Hopefully that is, because if you're asking me, Armor Wars from the Marvel Universe featured a lot of people who are not in the Marvel Universe now. If you get my drift. It's basically it's a lot of characters that you don't know that exist. Like Doctor Doom is part of the storyline. Right?
I would also like maybe a political angle, because I feel like Rhodey is very like politically inclined compared to the rest of the characters. Kind of just do whatever they want.
He's not politically inclined. He's military inclined.
Same, but different.
One is more focused on war, and the other one is to protect human rights. Just to tell you the difference.
You know what I mean.
I know. Anyways, we probably should get into Hawkeye, because we didn't get into Hawkeye at all.
But I do want to cover it this week, right? Sorry, you're gonna think?
No, I'm just saying that we have a 5 o'clock.
No, we have a 6 o'clock.
Oh, then I have a 5 o'clock.
Oh, okay. How about, do you want to push Hawkeye to?
Nah, let's just get it out of the way.
Okay, cool. So,
I don't have much to say about it, because
really?
the only person really excited about it is you. Like, the only thing that I have to say is the terrible, punchline that every gift comes with the bow. I'm like,
so
wow.
funny.
I know that you are extremely exhilarated by this, right? And in no way whatsoever, right, I approve of that kind of copywriting. Okay, maybe I do, but it's too much.
But yeah, I did compile a couple of images from the Hawkeye trailer that I do want to talk to you about, because obviously the Hawkeye series is heavily inspired by the Matt Fraction and Asia
David Aja
run of
is
the
not
Hawkeye
it's not David Aja, it's David Aya. It's he's
Oh.
it's Latin, so
Okay, David
J
Ayer.
Y.
Yeah, it's heavily inspired by their run of the comic, and highly regarded as the best Hawkeye comic run, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, in it, like, we get a blonde Hawkeye. Hawkeye has hearing aid. There's Lucky the Pizza Dog. It's Kate Bishop, and we can see a lot of the same things in this Hawkeye series. In fact, in the poster, you can already see Lucky the Pizza Dog there. Just so cute. But anyway, yeah, a couple of things. I'm really happy that we got confirmation that Clint Barton in this series will have hearing aid, which I think was one of the best things from that comic run. No, you don't like it?
Yeah, you know how I feel about Hawkeye,
Wow.
But anyways, let's move on. I find that the Ronin, I feel like the entire trailer was made up in such a misleading manner, because they show, like, he says, like, I'm promising to be home for Christmas. It was like towards the end of the video, but then he's already at Christmas. right? Like,
Don't you know that people start celebrating Christmas like in November?
I know, but the trailer doesn't add up, and they're using different voice bites. I know, I can tell. So, the difference in principle that I feel is that I feel that because, like, you have your family, right? That you promise, you say you're going to come back to, and then suddenly you get embroiled in Kid Bishop's storyline with no particular direction. So I feel like it's supposed to be the other way around, where you are in the Christmas setting, and then your family, something happens to your family. That's why you get embroiled with Kid Bishop. I think that the family is going to be kidnapped,
Huh.
and the
Taken.
family gets kidnapped because Hawkeye cosplays as Ronin whenever he likes, right? Because he's half of an emo dude
Wow.
whenever he feels like it. So what happens is that when Kate Bishop impersonates Ronin, people put a bounty on Hawkeye's family.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's logically speaking. But Marvel has a great swerve arrow.
I mean, we already can kind of confirm some things from the trailer itself. This is one of the more straightforward trailers. We know that the series is definitely going to be about Clint Barton's time as Ronin in Avengers Endgame. One of the things that people in the fandom point out is that he never really suffers any consequence from that, and we don't really dive into that much either, except for that scene where he's like killing everybody in, like, I don't know, Little Tokyo or Tokyo in the rain. So the series will likely focus on him having to deal with some kind of consequence. It could be his family getting kidnapped, and yeah, like you predicted, it could be um, because Kate Bishop is cosplaying as Ronin. So this is how I think that's a really clear link into how he becomes related to Kate Bishop, and I think it's gonna show that mentor side to Hawkeye, which is probably the most straightforward plot that I can think of. But at the same time, there are some other factors that might make the story a bit interesting. Of course, next picture is Kate Bishop.
I feel like Hawkeye is going to be reluctant to teach Kid Bishop at first, but eventually he'll give in. Like Kakashi and Naruto,
That
and
could be, yeah.
and I think that, I mean, like, this is strictly based off what I know from the comics, and trying to interlink into the MCU, right? And what they will possibly do. I feel like Hawkeye's character is heavily connected towards the X-Men end of the spectrum, especially with his time as Ronin, because if you remember this, Ronin was dealing with the Yakuza, right?
Yep.
And that entire Yakuza was Wolverine's
Yep.
playground,
Yep.
like so it's like a heavy implication towards Wolverine, with Hawkeye's mention of all these things.
Yeah, sure. And I know this
And
from the Wolverine movies, so if you guys haven't watched the Wolverine movies, you should.
and and if you guys follow Old Man Logan, right, which is a great um, alternate universe Marvel story,
So
it's Hawkeye
bad.
and Wolverine. Like, Wolverine trusts Hawkeye a lot more than he trusts anyone else, and we are talking about Wolverine here. And so there's like a big reference towards the X-Men, and even in uh, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they alluded to Madripoor, which is where Sharon Carter is. And Sharon Carter is either she's the power broker or she's working for the power broker. We don't know that 100% yet. But Madripoor is where the Danger Room of X-Men started. Like, that's like the original place. And Madripoor doesn't exist if it's not for the X-Men universe. So it's like a huge. They are dropping everything here and there, right? I feel like Hawkeye is going to be the next big setup. With, like,
Interesting.
once you mention Ronin, right? The X-Men connection is quite solid.
right, going back to your prediction about how he becomes sort of like an unwilling mentor to Kate Bishop, I can totally see that happening. Mainly because in the trailer we get this hint of what Kate Bishop's character is like, or at least it's going to be like in the TV series, and she seems to be like a kind of like a cocky Hawkeye fan who is physically like kind of there already, but has that naivete and like maybe that lack of experience from a young and plucky mentor, right? A mentee. So I guess they'll go down that kind of route.
I mean, as long as the storyline is good, I'm okay.
But yeah,
But it seems like it's too Michael Bay at the current plot point.
really?
A lot of explosions.
I think the next image is one of the explosions. Oh no, the next image is Rogers the Musical, which is a personal favorite thing of mine. If you allow me, if we had more time than 5 minutes, I would go on and on about Rogers the Musical versus Hamilton Parallels. I literally wrote like an entire set list.
I know, Rogers the Musical and its comparison to Hamilton, it's gonna be your podcast for like 7 weeks straight.
Oh my god!
So I know
totally
you can talk about it.
Act 1, Act 2. I wrote 3 acts. But yeah,
I can't even write like a quarter page of a fan fiction.
I could write a lot. Anyway, I think this image, Trust the Bro, is one of the explosions that you're talking about, and this is I believe a direct reference to the Jumpsuit Gang. I should have done my research.
Jumpsuit Boys.
Jumpsuit Boys, and Trust the Bro is their motto, I believe. The whole like bro thing. But yeah, this is I believe Hawkeye's primary like villain antagonist in the Mad Faction run. So it'll be kind of interesting to see it come back. Although I guess to MCU viewers it'll be kind of the first time. And this is kind of one of that outlying moving parts too, I suppose. Like we don't really know how the Jumpsuit Boys fit into this whole Ronin storyline. I think somebody that's a little bit more direct. Wait, let me skip this cute dog first. It's Echo. We get this like one shot of Maya, aka Echo, who is actually deaf in real life, but she plays the like deaf assassin and kind of like a genius character in the game, and she also takes up the Ronin mantle at a certain point in time in the comics. But she should have a really interesting like story compared to Hawkeye, so she's gonna be like one of the moving parts too. I am not sure how far they're gonna delve into her history, but she's actually Kingpin's adopted daughter, if I'm not mistaken. So it might be interesting if it goes in that direction.
I think they're gonna use back the Kingpin from the Daredevil series.
People are thinking that Matt Murdock will actually make an appearance, but those are like really like far off theories.
I mean, it's not like outlandish because they all belong to the same group of heroes.
Oh,
the
sorry.
Marvel Knights.
People think Matt Murdock is gonna appear in No Way Home. Sorry.
He could appear in Hawkeye also because, like I said, they are the same group of heroes, right? They they are known as the Marvel Knights in the comics, right? And also all of them can't fly. So they all need some form of transportation. Whether it's a motorbike, a motorboat, right?
What?
Or a car to get around. Right? They can't really go immediately to their point of interest. Just saying. They can't even web sling.
But yeah, I think it'll be interesting. This Echo ties a little bit more directly into the story, and interestingly, she's also going to have her own TV series far down the line.
That is interesting indeed, because
Man,
they are already investing in a character
hasn't appeared yet.
who hasn't even debuted yet.
And it's extra interesting because I think this Echo character is much more unknown than say, uh, Moon Knight, right? And Moon Knight has the star power of Oscar Isaac, right? So no matter what, people are gonna watch it. But the Echo series, that's gonna be interesting. Anyway, it's five. I just want to wrap up a couple more. Just one more. Lucky the pizza dog. Look, he's so cute. That's all.
Uh,
He's like he belong. I believe his backstory. This dog has a backstory. Is that he used to be part of the jumpsuit boys, but he took a liking to Hawkeye and Kate Bishop and became their like companion, their pet sidekick.
they are doggo buddy.
Yeah, so cute. And I guess we can end on this cute note.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of other things to to discover, but I think we'll have to wait for a second trailer.
Yeah, I think we can even pick up No Way Home again because what we got was only a teaser trailer. There's definitely
Indeed,
gonna be another trailer, maybe next month, 2 months in November perhaps.
if I can watch the Eternals on its launch date, Hawkeye takes 2 weeks directly after that.
Oh,
There's like a steady stream of Marvel, Star Wars, Marvel,
oh
Star
yeah, you're
Wars,
right.
Marvel,
So
Star
what if
Wars.
it's going to end in 3 weeks time, which is early
Yeah,
November, I believe? No, early October.
yeah. And
Hmm.
on the first week of October, and then you will have the making of the What If series. So
Yeah.
there's essentially 10 weeks. So then there's like a breathing period, I guess.
That means we have
Then
to wait
there's
almost a month for the next TV series. What are we gonna talk about in the meantime?
you're gonna talk about um you're gonna talk about the Eternals, the build up to the Eternals at least.
If we watch it, that is. With Malaysia theaters open again.
Yeah, they are reopening slowly, right? Um, a lot of places have already opened. The next batch of reopenings will be on the 23rd of September.
Hmm.
I'm pretty in tune with these things.
Wow. I guess all we can do is cross fingers. Hope it comes to PJ soon. Okay, I guess that's it for today. We managed to cover quite a lot for 2 hours. Usually we talk about like a what if episode for 1.5 hours. So I consider this
Yeah,
a win.
yeah, we covered a lot of things. Like partially we covered the No Way Home trailer. Partially covered Armor Wars, which is like never planned, right? Nobody's interested in the Armor Wars, at least as of now.
We'll see, we'll see.
It's gonna be a TV series, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I would have enjoyed it more if it was a movie.
Really?
Yeah, but yeah, and it could be like heavily political, like what you said. Armor Wars might be just a title, but the actual sequences in the series or the movie would just be people talking. No, you can't do that ordinance. No, we're gonna override this.
Yeah.
And then the action will be like 5 minutes.
I
Be
don't
like
mind,
2 hour
honestly.
movie about people. Yeah, it's gonna be like Shin Godzilla.
Ah. Anyway, I'm sure we'll find stuff to talk about in that 1 month break. But in the meantime, we have 3 more weeks of what if to discuss. And who knows if Marvel drops another trailer or sneak peek in the meantime, right? It's Marvel we're talking about.
Indeed, and how many episodes is Visions slotted for?
I don't
7 or 6?
know. I don't know at
I think
all.
I think it's 6 or 7. It's equivalent to the number of studios that took part.
I don't know that either. I just know it's coming out next Wednesday and that's all.
Yeah, so in the meantime we probably have to cover the Star Wars side of things.
The Galactic Recap.
The Galactic Recap. Wow, that is something. It's going to be in Japanese as well.
No, I got it. We want to
It's
maintain.
fine.
We want to maintain the TMR uh short form, right? It's the Marvelous Recap TMR. What about the Millennium Falcon Recap?
That is an F. That's not an R.
No, it's just like
It's not.
a Millennium Falcon like bracket recap.
Oh, okay.
Or we like combine it into one word.
I don't know. I was just thinking the Mandalorian recap. Just TMR.
It's not even the Mandalorian. Just wait. Season 2.
Season 3, you mean?
Oh my god! Sorry, I was thinking of The Witcher, which is another show I wouldn't mind discussing. Season 2 is coming out December, mid of December.
Yeah, we probably have to rename the show to the pop culture stuff.
No, we can just, change it to some kind of M. I'm sure we'll find something. Worst case scenario, we can go like the Visions. the Vision recap.
In every episode, right? You really reach far into the future, or you reach far into the innocence.
Hey, if you turn W, that's W of Star Wars around, right? It's an M.
I'm not having this toxic conversation.
Anyway, you should probably go. If you haven't followed us up to our Twitch channel, please do. Later tonight, I'm actually finishing my Life is Strange True Colors marathon. So I'll be streaming chapter 4 and 5 and we'll end the game. I can't believe it. We're at the end. I'm starting around 7 tonight and I'll probably go on until midnight. So once you're done with dinner, guys, come and join me. And
Not only that, cosplay commuter.
Yeah.
We have
cosplay
awesome
computer.
guests. Sorry. It's like a force I have it. Cosplay computer. We have great guests.
You're waiting for me to list,
throwing up-
right?
I keep throwing up, deuces, and I'm not entirely sure why. I think it's 'cause
Yeah,
it's
and you
cool.
said cosplay commuter instead of cosplay computer.
I said cosplay computer.
Anyway,
Right,
it was, to be fair, it was based on cosplay commuter, which was our physical event that we used to do on the train stations. It was kind of like an Amazing Race style event where teams would go from train station to train station to complete activities. But instead of train stations this year, obviously because of COVID, we will be doing it on Discord, which should be exciting. So if you want to join a team, we still have some open slots. So join a team, we will slot you in with some of your fellow community members. You'll get to meet new friends. You might even get to be in one of our special guest teams. We actually have a mixture of guests, like you mentioned. We have some who will be participating in the activities with you, but there are also some performers. Like, I have a list. My Suyuse Ainurol Putz will be emceeing. You know Putz from her own channel or Putz from TMR. We also have Ron King, Ane-chan, Diane Sabanjeja, Luna Lin, Momoiro, Rina Hime. We even have Doropu Charming from Project Hikaya, which we just announced this week.
Yeah, Dorpu Charming is really charming.
Wow.
I would say Dorpu is really cute, right? Yeah, but we have great guests and performers. I'm looking forward to seeing Rina Hime perform. She's really good.
Yeah, we're gonna have some performances in the middle of the day, and some at the end. The event will be 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. So, yeah, even if you don't join the team, you can come and check us out on Twitch. We'll be streaming the entire thing online, and it's happening on Saturday. So the next day on Sunday, we're still doing the podcast. So it's like one weekend of stuff.
Double duty.
Wow. But yeah, make sure to follow and sub and follow us on all our other channels as well. We are the Magic Rain MY everywhere. Like literally, we even have a TikTok. Although, like, I think I'm the biggest TikTok consumer in the entire team.
You know,
But
Puds will put up a pretty strong fight with you, I believe.
maybe. But I'm pretty confident in my skills. But yeah, we will, yeah, follow us there. We'll be updating all the details, like literally everywhere. And make sure to tune in tonight. I'm gonna be finishing the game. I want to see some of you there. Okay. Any last
Oh,
thoughts, Cha, before we
nah,
end?
I'm good. I'm good. Stay safe, y'all.
Yeah, stay safe. Have a good rest of the day, rest of the evening. Thank you for tuning in, guys. And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.